All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, April 12th. We have a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, we had a lot going on, including a few voids there, but a lot more green than red. We end up going 6-2. We'll take the cha-ching of a night. That Jays and Orioles game gets postponed, so our two Gunnar Henderson looks, as well as the first 5 under in that one, don't come through. We even said in the video that they probably won't play. There was like crazy winds and 98% chance of rain, and wouldn't you know it, those plays end up getting voided. But Christian Encarnacio Strand and Spencer Steer stay under their marks in their game. Tigers moneyline, they come through for us. They were down and they battle back. We posted that short and that Instagram video about it. I didn't know if I'd be jinxing it because I had been kind of ragging on the Tigers all year. They came through for a shout out to the Tigers. And then the two Brewers player props come through. I think Collins got pinch hit for like after his first at bat. And then the Padres' first 5 also come through as well. Our losses, hate to see it, the Phillies, who were a moneymaker for us last year, end up losing. We've lost a couple on the Phillies so far this year. And the Rangers, Mariners, honestly, not that mad about that one. There was bases loaded. They got out of a jam in the top of the first. So I was like, oh man, that was too lucky. And then the Mariners ended up scoring in the bottom of the first. But I was like, it should have been over in the top of the first. We can brush that one off. But guys, that was yesterday. Let's go ahead and dive into today. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Definitely loving all of your plays in the comments. I say that in a lot of videos, but I hope you guys know that I mean it when I say there are some absolute bangers that get thrown out in the comments. Plays that I'm like, wow, that's a really good look, or sort of a statistical route that I normally wouldn't take that ends up looking like a really good angle. So yeah, keep dropping your plays down in the comments. And if you're looking for additional plays, check the comments. There are some absolute bangers in there, like I said. But let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 here. Like I also mentioned, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got Minnesota taking on Detroit. So on the bump for Minnesota is going to be Chris Paddock going up against Jackson Jobe. Neither one of these guys have looked all that tremendous to start the season whatsoever. So I'm a little worried about or confused about where to go in this one. I would say Detroit still the better offense. They have both teams have comparable bullpens. Both team have the same amount of arms that kind of went yesterday. So I guess I'll base this one on the fact that I do think Detroit is the better offense, because I don't think either one of these pitchers are all that great. You could give Minnesota a little bit of an edge, and I'm sure the books did too, based on that price for being at home. I get it. I would say that, Paddock has faced Houston and the White Sox, and Houston's offense wasn't even cooking right. And then Jobe's faced the White Sox and the Mariners. So it's like neither one of these guys has really been faced with much music yet. But I don't think, Minnesota's that crazy of an offense. So hopefully Jobe can kind of keep it together here in this spot. He has no history against his team, obviously. In terms of a total, I'll lean towards the over. Again, I'm not really trusting the pitchers. Maybe a first 5 over, because, again, the bullpens, I would almost think the bullpens are a little bit better in this spot than we do have the starters. There is a lot of wins out there today. I believe they're moving from third baseline to first baseline, so crosswinds. I don't know if that's going to hurt or help the pitching, the bats, or anything like that. So, if you guys are weathermen out there or weatherwomen, you guys would know better than me. So I'm going to lean towards Minnesota in the over, but that first 5 over might be intriguing. No player props, though, in this one. And honestly, I don't know if any of that becomes final plays, just due to the fact that there is a lot of, moving parts in this one, including both pitchers. All right, next game up, we have St. Louis taking on Philadelphia. Miles Mikolas on the mound for St. Louis. He's going up against Christopher Sanchez. So Mikolas, to start the season, had one okay start against the Angels, and then he got smoked by Boston. 2 2/3, 11 hits, 8 earned runs, no home runs. So they were just all over the bases on him. 1 strikeout, 1 walk. Christopher Sanchez has looked okay to start the year. He had one really good start against Colorado, and then he played the Dodgers. They did get the win, but he didn't pitch all that phenomenally. He does have some good marks, like the fact that he threw 15 pitches burning, had 9 strikeouts, but he did allow 4 earned. What I will say about Chris Sanchez, and I do like Chris Sanchez, but the only time that I really blindly back him is when he's at home. He has way better home numbers than he does road numbers, and last year being the biggest sort of, zoom in on that. I don't love Michaelis, though, and he has a ton of experience against this current Phillies roster. 187 plate appearances against, 15.5% K rate, so that's not great. 2.7% walk rate, which is pretty good, right? An average of 275 against, but an expected batting average that jumps up to 316, an expected WOB of 375, and an expected slugging of 543. So I do think Philadelphia can get to him. I just kind of worry, is Philadelphia a little bit shaky on the road? Like, they haven't been playing the best baseball. They've lost 3 of their last 4, and they've been on the road for all of these, right? They started off looking pretty good, but I do think that maybe these road splits could be something to watch in the early goings of the season. But again, I don't really want to put much faith into Michaelis whatsoever. If you're concerned, I would say, about the idea of, Philly scoring runs and whatnot, maybe there's a potential play for an over 5.5 hits. I think you can get decent value, -115 on MGM right now on Miles Michaelis, just so that, they're at least tagging him. But six hits is a decent amount. You know what I mean? That's what's kind of worrying me about that. So I think I would go Philly or nothing in this spot. And the bullpens, it's they both have kind of risky bullpens, but I would say that Philadelphia is in a tad bit better of a situation overall, but both teams should have their normal arms in the bullpen. St. Louis just went with their setup and closer yesterday, but they pitched a combined 20 pitches, you know what I mean? So give me Philadelphia. I also do think that Chris Sanchez, I'm hoping that he can kind of step it up because, again, he's on the road, but he's going to throw a lot of sinkers. It's not like St. Louis hits that pitch all that well. And then guys like Nootbaar, Contreras, we have Donovan. A lot of these guys in the lineup have been struggling to hit lefties to start the season for the St. Louis team. So hoping that he can get out there and do that. I'll lean towards Philadelphia, but I also don't mind the idea of a potential under. All right, excuse me. Next up, jeez, I just couldn't talk for a second. Next up, we got San Fran taking on the Yanks. I want to start with a player prop in this spot. So if we jump into the dashboard, which, by the way, guys, after we go through this game, I'll show you how to get access to our dashboard, which is just like this. You get every single game broken out in a visual format, so you can start your research process and make it optimal and efficient and save you some damn time. This pulls from a bunch of different websites. So Jordan Hicks on the mound going up against Will Warren, but the player prop that I do want to start with is this. So Jordan Hicks throws a ton of sinkers, right? It looks like 2/3 of his pitches are going to be the sinker. We look over here at the Yankees. Well, they're the number 1 team as a team this season in terms of hitting the sinker runs above average. So where is that production coming from? It definitely looks like the top of the order, so that helps us kind of lean in a direction of, money line. We'll talk about that in a second. But I like the idea of Cody Bellinger today getting a hit. Now, he's been off to a rough start against righties, off to a rough start to some degree this year, but the sinker being the main pitch that he can hit, we're not going to get a changeup, that's the other one, but that sinker, he's at 2.9 runs above average. I like that spot for him. And if we flip it over to Outlier, which there'll be a link in the description for this tool, 7-day free trial. I'm telling you, you guys get Outlier and our Guy Boston Sports dashboard, you're good to go. But here we go. So this is Cody Bellinger on the season, right? Over 0.5 hits. Now, you're paying a decent amount of juice, but how about this? -160 on MGM and DraftKings. You get 6 cents of value over Caesars, and then FanDuel at 220. So it's they're probably the mispriced one, but I do think that we're still getting the best number of it, right? And if you want it on a prize pick slip, you can see it there. That's what's cool about Outlier. Anyways, he's only had a hit in 5 of his 10. Well, he's had more hits than that, but at least 1 hit in 5 of his 10 games so far to start the season. He's getting up a decent amount. You can see here he has mediocre numbers against Jordan Hicks. His numbers don't look all that great against righties. His WRC plus and hard hit percentage do jump, but what I really like is that Jordan Hicks against lefty batters, that's where you start to see some struggle. And even on the dashboard, you could see that, right? Jordan Hicks greened out against righties. Against lefties here really does struggle, so we could see that, right? So his average goes up. That's what we're counting on. You flip it over here, you can see in general, and this is last year's data, so we can use a bigger sample size. Cody Bellinger Overall, Woba of 322, K rate of 15.6. Against the sinker, his K rate drops into single digits. Woba goes up to 380, and you could see here, Bellinger will hit the sinker anywhere on the plate. My one concern, I guess, is if he does tuck it in that, low and inside spot. We don't have much data there, but if he even leaves it hanging in that spot, Bellinger should hit it. Now, the slider, he does struggle against. We're hoping to get a lot of sinkers, but again, the slider that he does hit is when it's kind of low and left over the plate. Who's to say that Jordan Hicks, where he does throw most of his sliders, doesn't leave one hanging right around there, right? So I think we do have decent opportunity here for Cody Bellinger. And again, we're getting a little bit of value in general, 20 cents of value or so compared to even FanDuel. DraftKings has a ton of value. So yeah, I like Cody Bellinger here. He hasn't gotten a hit in 2 days. I think he's, primed and ready for this one. Now, we talked about getting access to that dashboard. We'll tell you guys in just a second how to do it, but let's talk about money line and total first. I like the Yankees in this spot. Do I like Will Warren? Not so much, but I'm not exactly the biggest Jordan Hicks believer, and his numbers against this Yankee squad are not all that tremendous. So yeah, it's going to be a Yankee spot. I love the fact that they're in a bounce back spot here. Have they been the best bounce back team yet this season? No. In fact, they're in a little bit of a slump. You don't hear much jibber jabber about the torpedo bats anymore now that they haven't been scoring, but I do think this is a decent spot for them to kind of bounce back. I think we have some messy rain, so yeah, I think that they can get to Jordan Hicks, but I would normally say Yankees team total in a bounce back spot, but not exactly sure if that's going to be ideal with like cold weather and, rain. That's why even with Bellinger, I was thinking about for plus money his hits, runs, and RBIs, but, I don't know how many runs are going to be in like kind of a wet, yucky game. So gonna stick away from that to some degree in terms of their team total. Or I think the Yankees can kind of just scrounge this one out, though. The wind is blowing, for what it's worth, is blowing kind of from like the angle of what I would say from like shortstop to first base / second base to first base, which, that 314 little short porch in right field. If you can get one high enough and hit it hard enough, it's going to kind of carry it more right. It's still blowing in to some degree, but what I mean is it's blowing in the direction of that right field. So still some opportunities for some runs there. So I'll lean towards the Yankees. I want to get to an over, but I don't think that I can because of the cold and the rain. The wind, I kind of like the idea, but the cold and the rain, not so much. All right, getting access to the dashboard is super easy. So this is the Guy Boston Sports site. That's the link down in the description and pinned comment. Members, you could sign up if you don't have a membership, or if you do, you can head over to the NBA or the MLB dashboard. Right now, you'll see the MLB dashboard here. If you do have access and we are logged in right now, you can open it up. You can zoom in. You can print out. You can download it. Take it into Photoshop and start making notes. Tell you guys all the time, I like to print this out, and I've been doing it more like regularly. Usually when I was traveling on a plane, but I've been printing this out lately and making some notes and watching a game and like being like, okay, well, I'm seeing a lot more, sliders than this 50% sinker rate. Let's double check that, and then we can confirm numbers and whatnot. So partially to build the dashboard, but partially also just to make some notes. But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff in here. You have pitcher data, pitcher pitch mix. We also have bullpen. This whole right side is all batter, team batting in terms of runs above average, WRC plus, all that. Then we also have player numbers per pitch and average versus that hand of the pitcher based on that projected lineup. So really cool stuff, guys. Again, it's over on GuyBostonSports.com. We'll set this to a view without a membership. So if you don't have a membership and this is your first time, you can go to sign up, or you can just go to the dashboard and just say, hey, hold up, cowboy, you need a membership, right? And we do have multiple membership levels. If you like NBA, we have an NBA dashboard as well, so you can get the all sports dashboard and save $1 per month there. If you just want the MLB dashboard, boom, $4.99 per month, less than a Starbucks cup of coffee. You're paying it per month too. It's not daily like you go in the morning. You know what I mean? So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, it's just a research tool. It's not the end all be all, but man, oh man, even making these videos and knowing what the hell I'm talking about, that dashboard comes in absolute clutch. So consider becoming a Guy Boston Sports site member today. It's different than the YouTube membership. The YouTube membership gets you access to all of our, members only videos. The dashboard is on the website. We get that question sometimes. All right, Baltimore taking on Toronto. I just can't talk this morning, huh? We do have the pitching matchup from yesterday. Sagano going up against Bowden Francis. This one got rained out. They're not playing today or anything like that. So just this game to dive into. Right now, you do have Baltimore as -125, which I think is a decent price. I think they're the better team. Sagano, I guess we're still kind of, working on what exactly I guess he is, right? He's looked decent, but it was against Toronto in his first start. Toronto's offense definitely looks a little bit better, especially after playing the Red Sox. And then Kansas City, who I think we're learning that offense is a little shaky, right? Going up against Bowden Francis, who has had a decent start to the year. Like, we can't sit here and say that he's looked all that, poor. In terms of his numbers against this squad, though, it has been poor. In his career, 47 plate appearances against, 19.1% K rate, which isn't terrible, 2.1% walk rate, which is pretty good, but an expected batting average against of 295, an expected slugging of 545, expected WOBA nearly 380. So, yeah, we do have a little bit of, issues there. If we want to look at the small sample size of Sugano against this Toronto Blue Jays roster, he's already pitched against them this year, his numbers are pretty comparable. So this looks like it's going to be a little bit better of weather than we saw yesterday, which, again, this got rained out yesterday. 9-mile-an-hour wind kind of blowing left to right. It looks like it's going to be a little bit warmer at 50 degrees. Not much chance of rain. I almost want to take a peek at an over here, but I'm going to do more of my own due diligence on that weather, because it doesn't make sense to me that one day, you're rained out. The next day, it's like, oh, yeah, it's good enough. We can see an over. So I'm going to make sure to kind of vet that one out, right? But I think an over right away, because in terms of what we'll see from the pitchers here, there's a lot of fastballs from Bowden Francis, and then a big pitch mix from Sugano, but some of these pitches, you look at the curveball, the sinker, the fastball, I guess he doesn't have the knuckle curve, but the curveball in general. Those pitches Toronto has been hitting fairly well, and they're hitting righties pretty well to start the year, and they're getting on base. They don't have necessarily the biggest power numbers or anything like that, but they're getting on base, and they have a decent amount of righties in their lineup, right? And Sugano, at least to start the season, has struggled against righties. So, yeah, I like the over. I'm going to say Baltimore's the better offense, though, so I will lean towards, Baltimore in this one, but you could convince me in some way, shape, or form of getting to Toronto for plus money. They've looked okay, and I guess I'm saying that after watching them, look really good against the Red Sox, you know what I mean? In terms of where we go from a player prop, we probably run back what we were going to go with yesterday. Now, the weather isn't exactly as great as yesterday, you know what I mean, in terms of taking an under, but I'm going to go right back to Gunnar Henderson. I mean, the guy has struggled to start the year, unfortunately, but you could still get plus money for his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You want to be a little bit safer, and what we did yesterday is split the half unit between the two. You could go with his under in total bases. If this is still going to be some messy weather and whatnot, I do think it helps, but we're going to see a lot of fastballs, like I mentioned, from Bowden Francis, and Gunnar Henderson to start the season, that has been a pitch that he's struggling against. So, yeah, I'm going to run back the exact same two plays that we liked yesterday. It just got voided, right? So Gunnar Henderson under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, and or his under in total bases. Both of those being viable options in my brain. All right, A's taking on the Mets here in this one. JT Ginn on the mound, making his season debut, I believe, getting called back up from AAA. He is going up against David Peterson. David Peterson's season this far has been pretty good, and I've never been the biggest David Peterson guy. I wouldn't say that I'm like a David Peterson hater comparing him to some other pitchers in the league, right? But never really wanted to back him. We do have Ginn, who, in terms of last season, I don't think looked terrible, right? I mean, he made like 6 starts, 8 appearances. He had a whip of 1.3, 4.2 ERA, like nothing gross or, just grotesque, right? I will say Peterson against lefties is really good. Righties kind of struggles. There's more righties in this A's lineup for what it's worth. But at the same time, I think that this Mets lineup is just simply better. And they kind of even proved that yesterday, right? A high-scoring game. They got to Sears. I think they scored 3 through the first 4, if I'm not mistaken, and then they dropped in a couple later on in the game as well. Like, they scored like you would have thought. So I think for the odds that we're looking at right now, minus 130, you just have the better team in the Mets. If you like the idea of plus 120, you think Ginn's good and this Mets offense is going to come back down to earth or something, then yeah, I can't talk you off it. But technically speaking, 2 of their last 3 games, they've scored 10 runs and 7 runs. Yes, the Mets have a 0 mixed in there as well, but at some point, I do think that there's too many names on this roster to just kind of forget about, right? And then be like, oh, well, they're not going to score. That Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Marte, Nimmo, Vientos, like, they do have a good lineup, especially at the top there. They have the bullpen advantage as well. A lot of their guys, I mean, Garrett, Miller, Stanek, Diaz all went yesterday, so maybe that could be a little drawback. It's not enough for me to kind of tip this one over to the A's. The only thing that could potentially make me want to do is only look at the Mets in the first 5. But the Mets had some guys go yesterday as well, just not some of these key, like, high leverage arms, I guess, but the bullpens are fairly taxed, both of them. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, it's going to be nice in Sacramento, 70 degrees, no rain, barely any wind. I like the idea of an over, but maybe it's just a Mets team total over if we get a good number. 4.5, I'd probably want to go minus 110. I think you're probably going to get like minus 130 though, but if we can keep an eye on that line and something shake around, I doubt it'll move 30 cents, but could be something that I consider. Again, it's a big if we kind of got to that point. So that's kind of where I would put these fair odds in a sense. In terms of a player prop, a couple here. Now, I still want to dig through these a little bit more, but we have Gio Urshela under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Brett Baty under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And Mark Vientos, who we've already cashed once, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And then Tyrone Taylor under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass and be like, I think that we're gonna see a really good game from Ginn or anything like that. That's not what it is. It's more so the fact that these guys have been trending in this direction, and the pitch mix and the matchup I like a little bit more. They struggle against right-handers, the Mets ones, right? In fact, same exact thing for Gio Urshela being the A's under that we're looking at. Last year he batted just 177 against the left-handed side, which David Peterson is a lefty. That's the pitch mix. The pitch mix doesn't exactly scream good position, but 177 is a crazy bad average, right? So yeah, I think I'll take a peek at that. But again, Mets over is probably the total angle. But those player props, keep an eye on the final plays because we haven't fully dove into all of those. Dove-in? Is that a word? White Sox taking on the Red Sox. The White Sox prevailed last night. What a bad look for the Red Sox. I mean, I think I said it in the videos, like Newcomb isn't very good. Didn't necessarily, sit here and preach that, Davis Martin was going to be good either. This Red Sox team has scored 1 or less in 3 of their last 4, 2 or less in 4 of their last 5. The only win that they had, they took it to extra innings against Toronto. So it wasn't even like a big win where they put up a big number. So little worrisome here. On the mound today, you have Richard Fitz, Dick Fitz, we like to call him around here. He's been mediocre to start the year. That's what I would put him at. He's going 6 innings and allowing 3 earned runs through both, right? He is going up against Martin Perez, who honestly looks like vintage or good Martin Perez. He's pitching very, very well. That being said, which is funny because this was not the case, a year ago, but the Red Sox hitting lefty bats pretty well to start the season. They're going to get a ton of sinkers from Perez, ton of changeups, and I kind of like the spot for them. Now, could this be me being totally biased? It could, but let's not forget after one game when the White Sox just scored what they scored on them. I think it was 11-1, right? After one game, we can't sit here and forget who the better offense is or anything like that. So I'm going to lean towards the Red Sox in this one. It's definitely got a chance of being a final play for certain. It's going to be pretty cold, 50 degrees with wind blowing in, so I don't mind the idea of an under either, but I almost might pivot to a White Sox team total under. Let's not forget who this White Sox team is. They scored 11 runs. Do we really think they're going to do that again? I don't. I think they come back down to earth. And by coming back down to earth, I almost mean that they blew their load all yesterday. Now they're going to have a bad offensive game today, no matter who is pitching to them. If we want to look at the pitch mix from Dick Fitz here, he's going to go fastball and slider. Even using the dashboard, you can see it right here. Slider, fastball, those are the biggest pieces of the puzzle. Fastball, White Sox suck at it. Slider, White Sox suck at it. Look at these mother you-know-whatters against right-handed pitchers, too. This should be a day for the Red Sox as well as the Red Sox to win and the White Sox to struggle. So yeah, depending on what we want to do odds wise, I don't mind the idea of a Red Sox money line play, which is minus 154 right now. Again, don't necessarily mind it, not sure if we'll fully get there, but I also could be convinced myself of a White Sox team total under, which in terms of that number right now, because that total is low, you're going to go under 3.5 for minus 135. I don't mind it. I don't know if they have an easy path to 4 runs today. I do think that this team stinks, but the Red Sox and their bullpen, they could definitely let up some runs. So maybe it is just a Red Sox money line look, and we somehow, some way trust Dick Fitz, right? And that's what we're thinking. In terms of player props, definitely a couple that have caught my attention, but unfortunately, kind of like the Mets and Athletics game, we haven't fully gone through and placed any or, kind of solidified any yet either. So this is what we're looking at here. We have 2 White Sox players and then 1 Red Sox player. I like that under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And we keep getting, just a quick rant here, we keep getting so many, like, how many times have I talked about this, right? We keep getting so many comments of, like, I hate the fact that you're running with all these batter player prop unders and whatnot. It's like, we have been, there's been a couple where we take an under and the guy hits like 10 home runs, right? But we have been cashing out on these unders, knock on wood, these under and player props. Why do I stop? Like I don't know. Don't fear the under, guys. I tell you guys all the time. But we get a lot of comments being like, that's not fun. It's like, I would argue unders can be just as, if not a little bit more pressuresome and more entertaining than overs. Baseball specific. In terms of these ones, though, we have Andrew Vaughn. Like I said, I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He does hit the slider fairly well, so I'm a little concerned about that. Next would be Nick Matten, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He doesn't hit the slider all that well, not that we have the biggest sample size on him. And then Rob Refsnyder would be the other side of the equation here. I just like the pitch mix for him overall, but and the fact that he's kind of been trending in this direction. I will say, though, going up against lefties, he is one of those guys that hits lefties a little bit better. So it's probably the White Sox plays for me in terms of what I'm looking at. I guess I would be honest and say my concern is the fact that are we going to see, Dick Fitz go out there and kind of just struggle at all? Like that definitely could be in play. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd lean in those directions in terms of player props. Atlanta, Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay at home. They get the win yesterday. They're proven to be a pretty damn good home team, and Atlanta is almost just already solidifying themselves as a bad road team. I kind of gave Atlanta a little bit of the benefit of the doubt yesterday, and I was very, very close to pulling the trigger on a Atlanta money line play just because we were getting the plus money, but I just couldn't get there knowing their road splits and the fact that they're coming off like a big win and series win against Philadelphia. So I'm glad we stuck away from that one. Not that it would have been the worst look, right? Like they were winning that game in the beginning, but ultimately worst look in terms of, win-loss, right? Today, I think that I'm still going to take a peek at Atlanta just because of the odds. Like Drew Rasmussen on the mound, going up against the AJ Smith-Sawyer. Like, yeah, Drew Rasmussen is good. Like, I think he's pretty damn good. But I don't know if the Tampa Bay Rays at all are minus 150 good in this spot, especially when I think the world's going to kind of start believing in them now, in a sense, after beating the Braves, who the Braves started to look like themselves, like they even fooled me. So I'll take the Braves solely from a value perspective. I don't know if I drop my cojones on the table and say we're rolling with them today, though. In terms of what we have from a total, I don't mind the idea of an over. All we need is the Braves offense to kind of kick it into gear, right? And Tampa Bay looks like their offense is starting to find themselves, at least to some degree. Maybe I'm stretching it a little bit, but, this season they're now averaging 3.7. Like, you look at that a week ago, they were averaging, 2.9, 3.1. So having that, the 5-run game against LA, the 6-run game against Atlanta. They had another high-scoring game. Was it Pittsburgh? I forget what they scored, but some of these spots and outings are looking like their offense is kind of kicking into gear, and I don't think it hurts that they're at home. So, yeah, that's all really I have to say about that game. Not sure if I can get to the Braves officially, but I just don't love the price tag for Tampa Bay. It wouldn't surprise me if we do see, Rasmussen deal again. He's been doing that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's another reason why we might keep off of this game, I guess. Now, I just mentioned almost pulling the trigger on the Braves, and that would have been a loser. I also almost pulled the trigger on Washington yesterday in terms of their team total, and I really wish that I did. That was a good game. I checked into that one a few times, but Washington, when I say good game, Washington was down 4-0 in the 6th, and then they go out there and rattle off 7 unanswered runs, and they win it 7-4. So, yeah, I was looking at that being like, good thing we stayed away from Washington, and then, boom, late in the game, which with bullpens like this, you can never doubt or count anything out, right? Now, in this spot, we do have Sandy Alcantara on the bump for Miami, which obviously he's a really good pitcher, has been, and I think that, he's got the advantage over Trevor Williams, who's slated to start today. So, yes, there is I would say slight. I'm not going to go out there and be crazy about it. I would say slight advantage to the Miami side of things, but I think this Washington offense is just so much better, and that's not necessarily knocking Alcantara, but it is kind of, saying that this Miami offense seems to struggle. What I will say, and the reason why I can understand why Miami is super, juiced right now, is Alcantara, even though I give Washington's offense a little bit of credit, which might even be too early to do, right? Talk about being fooled by the Braves. Maybe Washington's fooling everyone. But Sandy Alcantara has 125 plate appearances against this current Nationals roster. Again, that is the guys that make up the roster, not necessarily the Washington team. If a guy played on the Yankees and he pitched against them and he's now on the team, that counts towards this number. So he's got a 16% K rate, not so great, but a walk rate of sub 5, an average against of 174. It does jump expected batting average against, but just to 214. WOBA at 215. It does jump, but again, just to 270 expected WOBA, expected slugging of 342. So I think that Alcantara can kind of keep this Nationals offense down, and I'm also going to sit here and say, I think that this Marlins offense can keep themselves down. So I do have a play that I'm considering this one, and I'm hoping that Alcantara can do his job, and damn, Trevor Williams can do his job as well, because I kind of like the first 5 under in this game. It would have looked good yesterday, right? Which is funny because it finishes 7-4, but the first 5 came through. So definitely considering looking at a first 5 under in this spot. Under 4.5 would be the number. Again, the way that I'm looking at it and the way that I'm thinking about it is that Alcantara can go out there and shut down what seems to be a Washington offense that is kind of scoring consistently, right? And then Miami on the other end, they've been very, very volatile. Hopefully that they can suppress themselves, and hopefully Trevor Williams can kind of keep it in the ballpark, right? So yeah, that'll be the 2 different spots that I kind of take a peek at in this one, whether it's the full game under or the under itself, but first 5 is probably being prioritized. I think in terms of a side, we haven't really given that yet. I would still say that the side that I like would be Washington, just due to the fact that I think that they can get the timely hits when they need, and you're getting a decent number behind them, right? You know what I mean? In terms of a player prop now, Jose Tena, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This season, he's not even come close to hitting this, and he's not even having that many plate appearances. Now, the difference, I guess, in this game would be that we could see him in the lineup for longer, not just like in a pinch hit type situation. We'll see, but again, I don't mind it if he's not going to be. He's not in the projected lineup as of right now, but we could totally see it. So that could be a look for minus 135. I kind of like that spot for him. So we'll keep an eye on that to see if we do end up rolling with that as a final play. But again, it's kind of based on the fact that we may not see a total full game out of him for first and foremost. And I like the idea that he's going up against a tough pitcher in Sandy Alcantara. Cleveland taking on Kansas City. Kind of a quick one for us here. We have Luis Ortiz in the mound for the Guardians going up against the Royals' Michael Lorenzen. I just don't know what the heck is going on with this Kansas City offense, so I'm going to lean towards Cleveland. Do I think that, this offense is going to stink forever? I don't, but I really can't picture back in Kansas City whatsoever right now. Same thing with player props. So, yeah, I'll lean towards the over. I'll lean towards the first 5 under, and that's kind of all I got for you in this one. This is because Cleveland's offense kind of stinks too, but then they go and score 7 runs yesterday. So my brain's a pretzel with this game. All right, Cincinnati taking on Pittsburgh. I have 2 player props that I'm pretty sure I am going to end up rolling with. First being Christian Encarnacion-Strand. The guy has been padding our pockets. We're taking his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Sure, at some point this will run out, but even if it's today, knock on wood, hoping it's not, he's already made us profit on the season on this play, right? So kind of a free roll here, but lefties last year, he batted 167. He's going to get a ton of fastballs here from Andrew Heaney. He doesn't hit the fastball well. Slider is his next pitch, doesn't hit that well, doesn't hit the changeup well, doesn't hit the curve well. There's nothing I'm seeing that's resulting in Encarnacion-Strand. So I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, but the fact that there's nothing I see that's a benefit or a positive for him probably means he's going to go yard like 3 or 4 times today, so that'd be tough. The next one is a guy that ended up going deep yesterday and we're fading today is going to be Jaime Candelario. Now, the reason I like this spot would be he struggles against left-handed pitchers, okay. Andrew Heaney, does kind of struggle against the right-handed bat, so that's not exactly the best. But pitch mix-wise, out of all those pitches I just mentioned when we talked about Encarnacio Strand, only the fastball really is going to be the thing that worries me when it comes to Candelario. If he goes to the slider or the changeup or the curve, I think that we're sitting pretty. So I like player props. Those are probably the two main things that we take a peek at in this one. When it comes to a side, I didn't even mention it. We have Andrew Abbott on the bump, who has not made a start so far to start this season, going up against Andrew Heaney. I don't think that either one of these guys are guys that are fully worth backing, but I'm not all that sold on the offenses either, which puts me in a pretty peculiar situation, right? I do think because we have Great American Ballpark and that type of thing, I'll lean towards an over, but those player props being much more likely for me to end up rolling with. And then in terms of a side, I think I would just flip based on what happened yesterday. I'll take Pittsburgh at the plus money. I think these teams are fairly similar. Cincinnati's offense may edge out a little bit, but I don't know how Andrew Abbott's going to be, just to start the season. And then you throw in the fact that, we look at them to start the season, and then you have a Cincinnati bullpen who does allow some guys on base. They actually have decent, ERA numbers and whatnot, but in terms of striking guys out, getting guys out, there has been some struggles. So we'll see how that one plays out. I think the player props might be the only final plays in this one, though. Well, Houston's offense woke up. I guess they come home after a 6-game road trip and feel right at home. They end up scoring 14 runs yesterday, and they kind of scored those in the middle towards the end of the game. I mean, most of those runs came, right at the 5 and 6 inning mark. But nonetheless, offense obviously looked a little bit better. Today, you have Ryan Gusto on the mound going up against Tyler Anderson. In terms of what we know about Ryan Gusto, I guess, not too much. He does have a couple appearances so far this season, but he has no start. So this is his first start. And again, he's looked okay, but the sample size necessarily isn't there for a starting pitcher. I will say Houston's got a better bullpen. They do have what I believe are the better bats. And, against him being Tyler Anderson, who really hasn't been like the stud that they would need. I mean, he had one start this year. It was against St. Louis, and he didn't look all that phenomenal. So, yeah, I don't love the idea of backing, a relief guy starting in Gusto, but I think that's the side that I'm going to be on. Houston on the money line here. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, and the faster the pitch, it looks like the Angels, the better they hit it. But I'm thinking that this is a Houston team that just is starting to get things right. Now, Tyler Anderson's a lefty. If you like the Angels, that's your biggest point today, because this Houston lineup, they stink against the lefties. If that is your angle, then I can't really deny it. If you're trying to make other arguments like Tyler Anderson should be really good against the squad and all of that, I just don't see it. He has some really, really bad numbers against this Houston team in his career, and it's a big sample size, but he does throw from the left side, and that has not changed. In terms of a total, I don't mind the over. This was a good Angels offense, for a little bit. And what if the Astros are kind of hitting an offensive stride? Give me 9 runs or more today. Arizona taking on Milwaukee. Those odds, the minus 150, I wish they were that. They're at like minus 180. So, again, graphics guy on thin ice. As you guys know, I am the graphics guy, so don't want to fire him. But, yes, Arizona, not minus 150. If they were, we'd be all over that. But I still think there's a way that we can work in Arizona to some degree today, because Corbin Burns is on the mound. He's going up against his old squad, right? And I think Arizona is just by far and away the better team in this matchup in general. I know I'm a little biased because they've been one of our favorite teams to roll with, but you're telling me they lose, what was it, 7 or 8-0 yesterday, and they're not going to bounce back today against Chad Patrick, who has looked good to start the season, but it was against Kansas City. We're starting to learn a lot about him, right? And then then against Cincinnati, whose offense has been kind of tough as well. I don't see a world in which Arizona can't come in here and say, yeah, you're right. Let's step this thing up, right? Chad Patrick is a righty. They hit righties better. He's going to throw a lot of cutters. They hit the cutter. He throws a lot of fastball. They hit the fastball. This should be a spot for Arizona to put up a decent number. So I like Arizona in this spot. I don't know how exactly to play yet, because I think they have the starting pitching advantage, the bullpen advantage, and the offensive advantage. So do we look at like a minus 1.5, but they're the home team? That makes a little tough, right? So maybe a first 5, even though I like the idea today of them winning the full game. The best play on our end may be taking a peek at them on the first 5. You get them on the first 5 run line, you get minus 130 odds. I think that could be, the look today, but I mean, I should give Milwaukee a little bit more credit. This Milwaukee team has been playing some decent baseball. They have one bad offensive outing recently, but to me, I think Corbin Burns is going to have the ability, or is just going to be able to kind of deal today, whereas Chad Patrick, not so much. So, yeah, we might take a peek at Arizona first 5 run line, which means they have to be winning after the 5th inning. And I like the fact that they get their last ups there. If they head into the bottom of the 5th, winning already, don't even need to worry about that half inning, right? Whereas, I guess if they were winning by 1 run and it was the top of the 9th, they shut down Milwaukee, game over. They don't get their last ups. So, yeah, I would like Arizona 1.5, but I'm hesitant to take a home team at minus 1.5. Just in general. And then, like I said, Arizona team total over probably be the spot that I look at player prop wise. And I don't know if I'm getting too wrapped up in this thing, but kind of want to play Corbin Burns some way. I love the idea that, he may have some sort of an opportunity to, one, kind of get things going, because we haven't even really mentioned that, yeah, he's obviously a good pitcher and a great name, but I wouldn't sit here and say that he's had the best start to the season, right? But he's gone up against the Yankees and Washington. At the time, we wouldn't have said anything about Washington, but I think Washington's offense has proven to look okay, right? Whereas Milwaukee, against righties, they've been good, but I would still peg them closer to a middle of the pack type of a team. I guess if you like Milwaukee today, Corbin Burns throwing the cutter could be worrisome. That's one of Milwaukee's better pitches, but I ain't afraid of it. Let's go Arizona run line in the first 5. I do like Arizona team total over, and then again, some way, somehow, liking the idea of trying to get to Corbin Burns. Just not exactly sure how as of right now. San Diego Padres taking on the Colorado Rockies, another spot in which we might figure out a way to back the Padres in the first 5. Neither one of these pitchers I'm all that, in love with. Chase Dollander going up against Kyle Hart. Kyle Hart realistically has been a guy that I've either targeted or avoided if we liked San Diego so far this season. He hasn't looked all that great, but again, his last start, the one that he didn't look good in, was against Chicago. Can we really give him too much grief for that? Not so much. You have Dollander, who pitched against the Athletics and kind of got hit up. Now, they ended up winning that game, but ultimately, if you can get a good price behind San Diego, I still think that is the move. Overall, I think that they're the better team in probably all facets, and their bullpen is super, super rested. So if we can get, again, a decent number behind the San Diego squad, I have no problem just kind of, betting and forget it. What does my hat say? Just bet it, right? So if you can get them at like minus 160 or something like that, I'm hoping that we do see, a bunch of innings out of this one, because, again, Kyle Hart, I could see him going down early, so I don't want to limit us to the first 5 or anything like that. But, if we get late in the game going against this Colorado bullpen, which is not all that tremendous, by the way, whereas San Diego's bullpen is very good, I like the idea of them being able to pull this one out. So Padres money line, total, I guess, over, because I don't like the pitchers, and then no player props as of right now. Dodgers taking on the Cubs. This was tough because I liked the Cubs yesterday. We weren't able to get to them, which is good because they ended up losing. They ended up losing by 3. But I really did like Matthew Boyd against this, LA team. And we did see a couple comments of people taking those pieces of information and running with it. So shout out to you guys. I wasn't even able to do it myself, right? But that game, Matthew Boyd pitches really, really well. He pitches into the 6th inning, and then the Dodgers kind of get theirs, right? He only allowed 3 earned runs, and they all came right in the 6th inning there. He did have 7 strikeouts. He looked good, but that was a good Matthew Boyd look, and I'm glad that we can still trust that. One swing of the bat changed that game dramatically, right? And it doesn't disprove the fact that the Dodgers still kind of struggle to some degree against left-handed pitching. But they're going up against a righty today in Ben Brown, so I could see this one being a pretty good Dodgers spot. Sasaki's on the mound, who, didn't look good against Detroit, looked a little bit better against Philadelphia. They get the win. I think that this kid's going to be good, and I even mentioned when he cried after coming out against Detroit and he was getting kind of ragged on social media, I was like, I freaking love that. This kid comes over here and he just cares that much that he's going to cry because he pitched bad. Like, I think that is a good thing, because the more and more he matures and whatnot, that just shows that he just cares and he can't control how much he cares. I don't know. Maybe I like that. I will cry at a movie sometimes, so I'm not one to talk, right? Anyways, I do like the Dodgers in this spot. In terms of a total, this is probably a Dodgers team total over spot for me. I'm kind of surprised by the number that we're getting. I would have thought that it's a little bit, again, like Ben Brown, I don't think is very good, and he's a righty. So the fact that we're getting, a Dodgers team total over 4.5 for minus 110, minus 115, kind of seems like it could be worth it. So that's something that I'm considering. Again, Dodgers are two different teams in my brain right now when they're playing lefties or they're playing righties. When they're playing righties, I have no fear in the world. They have they have been pitching or looking really, really good. Top 6 in average, WRC plus number 2, walk rate 3. So maybe we look at a Ben Brown walk because he doesn't have the best of walk numbers, especially against a righty heavy lineup today. Okay. Keep that in mind, right? For his walks, what is his walks run? And instead of me just keeping that in mind, because I know this little brain might forget it. What is his walk number? Is it 2.5? Okay, that's a little bit too much. But anyways, back to what we're just looking at. Number 2 in WRC plus, number 3 in walk rate, number 4 in on base. This is against righties. Number 3 in OPS, 1 in ISO, 2nd in slugging. Come on. Ben Brown's going to throw a lot of fastballs too. Dodgers should be able to key it up. So I like Dodgers as well as their team total over. Seattle taking on Texas. Do we jump back to the Nerfy in this game? I want to, but we got screwed yesterday. And like I said, I can't even get that mad when we recapped. Can't even get that mad because there's probably should have been a run that came in the beginning of that game. You know what I mean? What we could pivot towards here is an under 4.5 in the first 5. That is -150, and it's like -160 elsewhere. It's -150 over at MGM, so I definitely don't mind that. I will sit here and be honest with you that I'm not like the biggest Kumar Rocker guy, but Brian is on the mound for this Seattle team who, I think when he first came around, I didn't really like him, but I'm starting to like Brian Wu a hell of a lot more, and his name's really fun to say. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Texas kind of struggles with that. He's going to throw a lot of sinkers. They struggle with that. He gets to the changeup. They really do struggle with that, so that's good for an under, right? You throw sliders from the Rockers standpoint. That's his number 1 pitch, and this is the 5th worst team to start the season in terms of runs above average in Seattle to hit the slider. So that's kind of why I get to the point of an under. I don't love Rocker. He's been really bad on the road. He's been decent against righties, which I would say the scary bats in that lineup, a lot of them are righties. I think Rayleigh is a switch, so he'll be left today, but hoping Rocker can kind of just put the pieces together at least for a few innings, right? For what it's worth, now this is only a 12 plate appearance sample size. He has a 58.3% K rate, an 8.3% walk rate, a 0.91 average against, an expected batting average against of 0.67, and then an expected WOBA of 128, expected slugging 115 against the Seattle roster. So maybe this is just a great spot actually to look at the first 5 under based on that very, very small sample size. But I don't think either one of these offenses are all that scary to me. We did see a 5-3 win for Seattle. I would probably say this one could flip either way. I'm going to lean towards Texas in this spot, not based on what I just said about Rocker, but I think it's a low-scoring game, and I would say it's 50-50, so I'm not going to pay -150 for that, but I do think Brian Wu has the pitching advantage overall. No player props as of right now. Again, the first 5 under probably being what we roll with, but guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, and then also comment 47. The fact that I talked for 47 damn minutes today, yikes, but we'll work on it, all right? We talk a little bit too much sometimes, but really do appreciate you guys tuning in daily, and if it's your first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.